guys. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And thankfully, it was very brief. I'm still trying to figure out as to why I've been invited to this event. I'm not really particularly a very interesting guy, but anyway, I am glad and I'm certainly very grateful for the opportunity. I believe my audience today predominantly consists of students, right? Young kids. And I believe they are from business. They're studying MBA or studying towards MBA, I believe, right? So I hope I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
All right.
The students are from BB and BCom. And
all right. Is there anybody who's studying anything technical like computer science or computer applications?
Yeah, there's one batch who is studying BCA, Bachelor's in Computer Application.
All right, fair enough. So anyway, guys, so let's get started. I had spoken with your director, I believe, and I think Kaushik also we discussed. Yeah. And when we started deciding on what should I talk about, I asked, in fact, why don't you recommend? And they said maybe we can talk about or we can discuss, technology and innovation. Now, which is good because over here, innovation is something that is, believe it or not, it's existed in the English language for quite a while, but innovation as an idea in India is still in its nascent. Drive innovation. And a lot of institutes, particularly, are you guys able to hear me clearly? Because I just got a message saying that my network connection is a little unstable today. But is my audio coming in fine?
Audio is coming in fine. There's some problem with the video.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. You don't need to see my face anyway. There's nothing particularly very interesting about my face. So should I stop my video or let it run?
Let it run. Let it see for next 1-2 minutes.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. Anyway.
The problem continues, we'll stop the video.
All right. So the thing is, innovation is, and I have been rather intimately involved with a lot of innovation-related activities in the US as well as in India now. So, and we'll talk about that, why innovation is important and why you kids are going to be the primary drivers of innovation in the next, over the next decade and quite probably the next century as well. And you and your kids, obviously. Right. So, but before that, let's talk a little bit about technology, right? And technology from which perspective, right? So the question it begs another question, and that is technology good? Is it always good? And our technological advances, are all. Let me share with you something very, very, very interesting, right? Almost all of you, I'm certain, use some kind of social media, right? Almost all of you. Right, I'm sure every single young person in the audience today uses Facebook. Right now, I do not know if you know this, but Facebook does not sell any product. Right, all of you know this. They sell advertising. Their primary source of revenue is advertising. Right now, as far as you and I are concerned, Facebook is a medium, is a way to keep in touch with our friends and family. Right, share our photographs, our snaps, our events, our stories, and stuff like that. Right, that's what Facebook is to you and me. But at its core, to people who matter, to people who have created Facebook, that's not what Facebook is all about. Nothing physical about it, right? They're selling advertising. Specifically, they're selling.
Ashutosh sir, we are facing issues with your video, I guess.
All right, so let me just stop the video. Is this better?
Yeah, it's better now. Yeah.
Faces, many people, so it's a good thing. My video has to be turned off. Anyway, so now here is a company that does not sell anything. And it is valued at, and about 5 years ago, it was valued at $200 billion. Its valuation was $200 billion. Think about it. A company which does not make any product, which only sells targeted advertising. Now, why is that? It's because they are and I want to advertise it. And if I go to Facebook and I tell them what my product is, and I tell them precisely the kind of people I want it to be showcased to, they will figure out a way to do it. They know exactly how to target a particular product to its intended targets. So the question then becomes, well, what's so bad about it? What's bad about it? Point number one. And how are they doing it? Two. So let me answer the second question, is how are they doing? They do this by using the data or by using the information and then over time, as you keep adding more and more photographs, your holiday pictures, your events and your birthdays and all those things, they keep using the data and they're building a sort of a mathematical model in the background for each and every one of us. And this mathematical model is driven through a series of computational engines, which are driven by machine learning algorithms, right? Deep learning algorithms, right? And you would not believe how incredibly powerful and unbelievably accurate these models are. You cannot believe it. It will, in fact, there are some people who actually and fundamentally believe, and I am one of them, that these models can describe you better than people who actually know you. If you've been on Facebook long enough, then I can almost guarantee you this, that their mathematical models sitting on their servers can predict your behavior and your interests and your likes, which obviously change with time, better than people who actually physically know you. Think about it. So this is technology. This is technological advancement. This was not possible 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It has been made possible by a couple of things. One, access to cheap and reliable internet connection, right? Cheap and reliable internet connections. And two, access to high-speed computation. And three, general awareness of the people. Right? So you have technology. So the question is, how was it made possible? It was made possible by technology and technology adjacent ideas. But that's question number two. Question number one that I had mentioned was, is every technology good for you? So let's go back. So now the question becomes, is Facebook good for you? Now, I could ask that question to this audience. Do you believe Facebook is good for you? Right? So maybe, guys, if you could help me out. Kaushik, could you maybe create a poll or some kind of just send this message out to everybody saying that if they could just type in the chat window, yes, no, whatever. Maybe we can just take a look at that. So the question being asked here is, do you believe Facebook is good for you? Okay, so that's my question for you guys, right? All the kids. Anyway, so while you respond to that, here's my 2 cents on this. The problem is Facebook is using your data, right? But they don't just stop at your Facebook profile. The way they learn about you becomes invasive. They learn about you by following your online activity. Every single web page that you visit, there is a Facebook tracker that notes your presence and sends that information back to Facebook. Every single website. In fact, well, maybe not every single. That's too harsh, too strict. But let's say 99.9% of the websites have a Facebook tracker embedded in the code. So when you visit that website, they know exactly who visited the website. They know exactly which product you saw. They know exactly how long you stayed on the website. I mean, guys, you cannot imagine and you cannot comprehend today, right now, the scope of how invasively Facebook tracks you. Okay? So then the question becomes, well, So what's wrong with that? I mean, I'm not doing anything wrong. Fair enough. You're not doing anything wrong. But then, critics of this concept argue the notion of privacy, right? It's like having somebody standing behind your shoulder, just looking silently at what you're doing every single time. Would you like that? Would you like somebody to know exactly what you're doing and what you're seeing online? That's my question. You would say no, obviously. And the reason why you would say no is because you value your privacy, right? You believe that privacy is fundamental, right? So the question being asked again is all technology good? Right? Is every technology good? Right? Is every technology good? So every technology could be good provided it is used for the betterment. Now, whose betterment are we talking about? Right? Are we talking about the betterment of a group of people? Are we talking about the betterment of a company? Are we talking about the betterment of humanity as a whole? I'll leave that to you guys. Okay? Anyway, I feel very odd right now. But anyway, guys, do you have any questions so far? If you have any questions, just stop me in this, or maybe you can just type it in the chat window, and I will try to answer it while we're having this discussion. Okay. So, did I get a question? Did somebody send me a question? Okay. Anyway, so my suggestion is, whenever you talk about technology, always take it with a grain of salt. Right? So technology has to be taken with a grain of salt, and particularly the way technology is utilized. Now, I'm sure all of us have at one point been on Twitter or read something online that has made us angry. Hasn't it ever happened to all of us? You read something, you're not even related to it. Something has happened and people have started commenting on it. And when you hear those comments, when you read those views, you start feeling angry. Right? You feel that reaction, right? It's called psychosomatic behavior. So this is a psychosomatic reaction, right? Now, why is that made possible? It was made possible because we have just provided every single human being on this planet a medium to share their views globally. And I fundamentally believe, I truly believe, now this is my view, right, that everybody on this planet does not need to tell me what they're thinking. Or more specifically, I don't need to know everybody's views. But here's the problem. If I sign up for Twitter and somebody's views get really popular, it will eventually end up being displayed in my profile as well. So whether I like it or not, I will be forced to view it. The same thing goes on with many other social platforms. And when I read something which is disturbing, I feel bad. I will feel bad. So now this is impacting it is physically impacting my health. So the long and short of all of this is, why I have been harping on about this is because, and as young kids, you guys are the most susceptible to social media. And I'll tell you why. Because the one thing that I've observed in my interaction with kids over the last 10, 15 years, ever since I've come back to India, is that you guys, this particular generation is particularly tied into and dialed into social media. And to the extent that today, a lot of these kids, a lot of you guys tend to mistakenly believe that your validation is a function of your social acceptance. Now, guys, let me tell you something. For the love of God, stop believing that. Always believe in yourself. The only thing that matters is what you think of yourself. Nothing else. Nobody else. You and your parents, of course. Right? And your teachers, to some extent. But I'll tell you one thing. Let me give you a little bit of secret about teachers. I know there are a lot of your teachers over here, but hey, I'm not scared of them. You might be, but you shouldn't. Your teachers actually love you. But they cannot show their love to you explicitly, because if they do, they know you will take advantage of that. Okay? But anyway, your teachers like you, they love you. Don't worry about that. They care about your well-being and your growth, academic and emotional and mental. Everybody else, apart from parents and your teachers, their reasons for loving you may or may not be that clear or evident. So stop worrying about all that. Stop worrying about your social identity. Do what you feel is right in your heart. Be who you are and who you want to be. Which means, and why am I saying about this? Because the thing about innovation is innovation is a seed that needs to germinate in each and every one of you. Innovation, and rather more specifically, the desire to innovate, is something that has to be germinated in each and every one of you. All right? Now, what does that mean? It means that if you want to do something, if you want to do something new, you have to first get over the fear of failure. And you have to get over the fear of your so-called friends ridiculing you and not liking you. Because it is quite likely that if you were to go on social media, a lot of comments that will come your way may not exactly be positive. Point number one. Point number two, a lot of your well-wishers or a lot of people known to you may say that what you're trying to do is not new. They'll comment on the novelty of this thing. Forget about that. Do not pay attention. You know why? Because unless you allow that possibility of the innovative seed to germinate in your head, you will never be able to do it. So if you believe that you want to do something new or you want to do something on your own, go for it. Okay? But the most important thing, the number one factor that prevents people from taking that step, taking that leap towards innovation or doing something new, is they start worrying about whether it is big enough. Whether it is big enough. Right? Now, if it is, again, don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. Because the way we perceive something in its magnitude is relative. What may be small for somebody else may be big enough for me. What may be small for me may be big enough for somebody else. Think about it, right? Let me give you a simple example. If you're an able-bodied human being, for you, walking from here to your friend's house is a non-issue. It's a small task, right? But for somebody who's not able-bodied and who's confined to a wheelchair, now that thing takes a bit of an effort, right? So it depends on who you are and what your perspective is. So never ever worry about what others think about your ideas and your desire to innovate. If you think you want to do something new, go for it. Okay? Guys, are you still with me? Can you guys hear me? I hope, I don't know.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
All right, cool. Any questions? Is my voice clear?
Voice is very clear. And
audio, videos.
They will be sending it to our coordinator. They will come back to the questions once you're okay with the questions.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So anyway, so now getting back to the innovation, right? So if you think about it, any innovation, usually when you try to do something new, the one thing that I found in my years and years of dealing with kids is that they start by trying to figure out if they can do it on their own because they want to learn some new technology or some new idea, and which is fine, which is perfect. That's how innovation actually starts. And don't worry about whether others like it or not. You want to do something new, go for it. And in this day and age today, one of the easiest things you can do is do something innovative with IT, information technology. Why? Because it has become so pervasive, so simple, so easy, so easily accessible. But it's not even in competition anymore. Today, I'm not sure if the kids over here today, if my friends in the audience today are programmers or they have done any coding or any serious coding. But I have good news. If you want to get into IT, if you want to do something in if you want to do some new project which is driven by IT, believe it or not, you do not even need to know how to code today. There are so many online tools and platforms available to you at your disposal that you can leverage pretty much every single new idea, whether it is machine learning, fuzzy logic, deep learning, numerical methods, whatever you want to do. All of these tools are now available free of cost, one, open source, and two, ready for deployment by each and every one of you without knowing a single line of coding. All right? The question becomes, do you have a clear idea of what is it that you want to do? So I'll give you, the reason I mentioned this is because I have been involved with University of California, Berkeley's innovation program for the last 7 years now, right? I'm one of the mentors and one of the judges for that program. Now, what this program does is it invites student applications from across the United States and a lot of other universities across the globe, and of groups of students, undergraduate and graduate students, and in 5 broad theme areas. One of those theme areas in which I particularly have been involved with is global health. And you'd be surprised to know, I have been blown away by some of the ideas and the project proposals that these kids, undergraduate kids, have come up with. These kids a lot of these kids are from, business background, business administration studies like you guys. A lot of them are from humanities. And they want to do work in global health. So the reason I'm telling this is because it goes to tell you and goes to show that whether you know some particular technology or not is immaterial in this day and age. What is material is whether you are clear about what objectives you want to achieve. Whether you're clear about your objectives, whether you're clear about your goals. The tools to achieve those goals exist today. Don't worry about all that. All right? And do not worry about the scale of things. You want to do something small? Go for it. You want to do something new? Go for it. You want to do something small just for the sake of learning something new? Go for it. Because guess what? Innovation and its impact does not need to be, it's not scale dependent. It could be for anybody. It could be for anybody. It could be for, I'll give you my personal example. When I came to IIIT Allahabad, one of the things I decided to do, and thankfully this was, again, because my director at that time was very supportive about this, we decided to automate a lot of things. So we decided to automate, simple things like a virtual help desk to submit tickets like where you have a failed electrical appliance or failed water cooler. So you just go online, submit a ticket, and somebody will submit it. Now, for our institutional community, this was an innovation. If you tell somebody this to somebody else outside, they'll say, "Oh, so what? This is peanuts. This is crap." But do I care about that? Of course not. Why? Because for me, that innovation was not meant for any recognition or any, chest thumping or nothing like that. It was meant to achieve an objective. What was my objective? The objective was to simply ease doing business by fractions. That's it. So this is what I'm trying to do. If you want to innovate, don't let anything or anyone stop you. Don't let anyone or anything discourage or dissuade you. Because one of the worst things that can happen, the worst thing, absolutely the worst thing that can happen is the young minds of yours becoming desensitized. I shudder to think if that ever happens to the minds of this country, because we did not nurture them. I don't want to see that. And I truly and genuinely believe that each and every one of you is capable of doing some truly incredible things. If and only if you guys can get out of your own way. Technology today is there. It is waiting for you to leverage it. Trust me when I say this. You do not have to be an expert in computer science or electrical engineering or, IoT. You don't have to be an expert in anything. All of these domains are now covered. Okay. I think the young audience member, a very, 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 very young audience member. All right. Anyway, guys, right? So don't let that worry you, or don't let that stop you.
Ranjita, you have a question, Ranjita? Ranjita, you're trying to connect with your question? If not, you can mute yourself, please. Thank you. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
All right. So then the next question becomes, right? And again, this point is now targeted to your faculty members as well as students now. If you want to innovate, let's say you have done your basic legwork, and you've done you have a proof of concept now. You've built a prototype. Or even if you don't have a prototype, you have a working idea or concept. Where do you go with this? How do you scale up? So this is where innovation labs and startup accelerators or incubators, technology incubators come to the picture. Okay. Now, almost every single IIT today, I know of IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur, IIT Bombay, and IIT Chennai, and I believe, IIT Kharagpur and our IIIT Allahabad and IIIT Delhi. Almost all of these major big institutes, government, the big IITs and IIITs and NITs, and a lot of private institutions. I'm sure maybe at your institute also, they have these incubation centers and startup accelerators. So what they do is, you write to them, you submit your proposal, and your proposal will be evaluated by their technical group. And if they like what they read, they will literally give you a place to go and work. Now, when I say a place to go and work, I mean they will even provide you a little bit of seed funding, seed capital. They'll give you an office space. They'll give you office staff if needed. They can give you access to high-speed internet. They can give you access to a fabrication lab that might have, let's say, a CNC router, electronic workbench, fabrication facilities, 3D printers, whatever, right? If you want to do fab work, fabrication work. And these places allow you to work with a focused vision. So you can have a small team of people like you and your couple of friends who have this idea. You can go to these startup accelerators and incubators. And believe it or not, these incubators are actively seeking people like you. They are very happy when they receive applications. Very, very happy. So don't even hesitate one bit in writing to them. And in fact, it is quite likely that if you write to 2 incubators, submit your proposal, you might get invited to make a presentation at both of them. Right? And this is actually an initiative that is being spearheaded or driven in the background by the government of India. Right? So, for example, I know for a fact, because I am also on the expert advisory committee for DST, Department of Science and Technology, for Biomedical Devices Development Group. Right? Now, so we have a lot of these programs in the pipeline. that actually focus on fostering technology development in the country. Technology development by groups of researchers, individual researchers, and institutional clients. So, guys, kids, and my friends, trust me when I say this. India right now, this country right now, is the perfect place for innovation. Why? Because money is not an objective today. It truly is not an objective. Is not an objective. Indian government has a lot of funds. The only difference is, unlike countries like United States and Germany and UK or the developed nations, the only problem comes is because the way our oversight system works, it can become a little bit of intrusive, be a little intrusive, a little cumbersome. But we are changing that as well. The number one hurdle for any innovation to take shape and grow is money. And trust me when I say this, Indian government today, there are so many initiatives going on. It's just a question of knowing where to look and putting your best foot forward. What do I mean by that? When you write a proposal, make sure that you write it properly. Don't half-heart it. It should be written properly. It should be vetted properly, right? And it should be sent to the right place. If you're developing a biomedical device, for example, and you send it to CDAC, which is a computational development center, they're not going to be interested, right? Now, if they reject your proposal for funding, you can't blame them, right? So you should send it to DBT, for example, Department of Biotechnology, or DST, Department of Science and Technology. They will fund it. Or you can send it to IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur, IIT Madras, and their incubation center, right? Or to IIT Allahabad, obviously. How can I forget my own incubation center? But the point is, guys, I hope, how am I doing on time? I'm just going to wind up in another 5 minutes and I'm going to take a few questions. The reason why I accepted this invitation to talk was when I was told that the audience member will be predominantly kids, undergraduates. I love talking to the undergraduate kids. You know why? Because you guys are the drivers. I am past my point. Right? I am done. I'm mostly done. Whatever I had to achieve, I have more or less gotten done, right? It's you guys. And I know this sounds like a Hallmark card, right? Like you are the future of the country and something that you expect a politician to do. But trust me on this. As a teacher, as a professor, when I see the new kids coming in every batch, every year that I see the new kids, I see that. I see the hope in their eyes, their eagerness to learn and to innovate and do something big and good. And you see that every batch. In every single batch, we see somebody, a group of students who truly take off. I want you guys to understand that each and every one of you, doesn't matter whether you're not a technical background person or whether you're commerce, you're biology, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is whether you want to make a difference and whether you love yourself more than what you love about others and their opinion. All right? Always remember, change happens by people who show up and step up. You cannot learn swimming by walking around the pool. You got to jump in and have the faith. Oh yes, I forgot. Have faith. But you got to have faith that if you jump in the water, your body is naturally buoyant, and if you just hold your breath, you'll come back up to the surface. So once you get rid of your fear of water, you learn how to swim. All right? Anyway, that's it, guys. That's all from me. If you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Yeah. So, any questions from the student?
Kaushik, before the students ask the questions, sir, I would just like to inform you and the students, since sir has spoken about an incubation center. So we have partnered with IKP in Mysore. IKP is an incubation center in Saraswatipuram. They have all the tools available. They have a full-fledged working space available. If anybody is interested to be a part of that incubation center, want to know more about it, you can contact Kaushik. He will help you more with it. And since sir has already stressed on it, even I cannot stress enough on it, that if resources are available, the only thing that will stop you is you. So utilize it and make sure that you take sir's advice clearly.
Appreciate the word of confidence. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, this is wonderful. If you guys are already tied up with an incubation center, fantastic. But my suggestion would be see if you can tie up with a few more, because having access to a few more incubation centers might give you access to a lot more tools of different variety.
Right. Certainly, sir. I think we've taken the first step.
Good.
We will continue doing it.
Yeah.
Sir, I had a question on behalf of the students. So some of our students come from extremely traditional backgrounds. I mean, some of them will be owning jewelry stores, some of them from clothing stores, some of them shops on high streets, some of them into wholesale retail. So what are a few things that you would advise as innovation for them? What are the things that they can do, and maybe 2 or 3 steps that they can take for their businesses, especially during the pandemic? Okay.
So I'll give you a simple example, right? So let's take the example of somebody who has a business, and the kids are right now, their parents are looking after the business, and the kids are just at home right now, for example, right? So I would advise that they should observe, sit down with their parents or whoever, or father, and talk to them. Try to get a feel of what about their business is bothering their parents, right? What are those thorns, or what are those pain points? And see if they can come up with some ideas of how to figure it out or how to solve it. Because, like I said, the first step is looking at the problem. Right? Do you know what the problem is? If you want to improve your business, improvement nascently implies you're trying to better something. Improve, right? The literal word means to better something. So why would you better something if it is already good or good enough? So if it is not good enough, if there are pain points, sit down with your father, talk to him, talk to them, your mom, dad, whoever is running the business. Sit down. The pandemic has given us a wonderful opportunity to spend a lot of time at home, work remotely. And here's the best part. Once you start discussing with them and you start doing your research, you can sit at home, look up a lot of information online and figure out how you try to solve that problem first. Once you have an idea of what the problem is and how you try to solve the problem, then you can create a small, talk to your friends, talk to your faculty members, see if you can create a virtual group. Discuss, do a head start, do a session.
Right. Certainly, sir, willing and open to do that.
Anything, because guys, don't worry about it. A problem and its solution does not have to be high tech. It just needs to solve a problem. Do not get caught up in the idea that unless you do something truly technologically breakthrough, it doesn't matter. That's crap. And you know it. That's just crap, right? I'll give you a simple example. Do you know why Geo is so powerful today? No? I'll give you a story, and I hope I have 2 minutes, right? In 2007, I was visiting India. 2007, no, about 2003. The first time when I came back to India during my studies. Early morning, I had to go and get some milk at 6:30 in the morning. I don't know if you remember, the milkman would bring his buffaloes and cows, and then he would take a small corner in the park, and he'll milk them, and then he'll give you the milk, right? Fine. So I'm sitting there, standing there groggy-eyed. I have just traveled 15,000 miles, and I'm standing there, and suddenly the phone rings. So now, remember, this guy is sitting on the floor, right? And he's got a bucket in between his legs, and he's milking. He's milking the cow. And suddenly the phone rings, and I'm wondering where this phone is coming. He, without taking a break, he takes out his phone, that original Jio phone. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I'm sure Professor Srinivas might remember when Jio had first launched that phone.
Right.
It was cheap enough that anybody, any Tom, Dick, and Harry could afford it.
Correct.
And with one hand, he's still milking, and the other hand, he takes the phone. Yes, acha, oh, okay, 2 liters, okay, fine. Puts it back. This is what Jio did. What did Jio do? They solved a problem. They solved a problem of connectivity, mass connectivity. And how did they do it? By not making a very high-end, technologically smart, advanced smartphone cheap and available to everybody. No, they said our first step is to make sure that everybody gets online, gets connected. That's stage one, right? That's the 0th step, if you will. If my rural population is simply not connected to the cellular network, it doesn't matter if I have 5G network, right? So what Jio did was, first, they got the country connected to this cellular technology. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Innovation, solutions do not have to be really high tech. They just need to solve a problem. So don't worry about all that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, I'll pass it on to Amreen, ma'am. She's the faculty for BCA, and some of our students have questions.
Yeah. Amreen, okay, yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello. There's one question from our student, second year BCA student, Anchal. Anchal?
Hello, sir. This is Anchal from second year of BCA. I have done a course on graphic designing. Graphic designing.
Okay.
I would like to ask you that how animation and these days are connected to the technologies.
If you think about it, almost all manufacturing jobs, all manufacturing R&D requires people who are good with modeling 3-dimensional and objects. Now, you've done a graphic design, right? So I'm assuming you're good with sketching.
Yeah.
Right. So I would suggest that you talk to and get in contact with a lot of manufacturing companies like automotive sector. You can talk to electrical companies like LMT, Siemens. You can talk to Schneider Electric. If you don't want to get into audio and visual and entertainment industry. If you don't want to get into entertainment industry, which is, by the way, going to be your number one demographic or number one target domain, right? If you don't want to go that way, you can always go into manufacturing R&D, right? So design R&D, because you are good with sketching and putting your ideas in a shape. And the other thing is, a lot of these companies, they like to do motion analysis. They want to model motion analysis, right? So, for example, if I design a component that has to rotate, right? So, you as a designer should be able to design multiple frames of that wireframe or wire mesh, model it, and run a simulation. But remember, you don't have to write the code for simulation. Software packages exist to do that for you. What the software packages cannot do is actually design or draw that component. That's where you come. Okay, so don't worry about it. There are many, many opportunities that exist, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. There's one more question.
Mm-hmm.
One more question, and the internet connectivity of that student named Karthik S of first BCA is a little low. So I will on his behalf. He is a very good gamer.
Mm-hmm.
He's good at gaming. Now in BCA, we have a lot of gamers now in the class, right? We're asking how can they become better at it, or how can they use this gaming skills in innovation and technology and entrepreneurship, sir? They're asking this question to me now.
Okay. So this is from a true story that happened with me on one of my flights. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I met a gentleman at Delhi airport while we were waiting for a flight. And this young man is literally a child. He's literally a child. And we were just waiting for a flight and we started talking to each other. And he tells me that he runs a gaming company. I mean, first of all, the words coming out of that young kid's mouth, they stunned me. Like he looked like a child. My point is, he ran a gaming company. Now, when I say gaming company, so two things. He was developing, he had hired a few programmers to build, elementary games which are meant for kids and learn. But more than that, he was setting up gaming parlors across the country. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can do that and everybody should do that. But unlike about 10 years ago, now even Government of India and India is talking to people who are good at gaming on developing simulations which test your motor skills. So a little bit of my background. When I did my PhD, I was intimately involved with a project for NASA and US Air Force. So a part of that work that we did was looking at ways to study human response, then the response speed, right? So you get a stimulus and you record how quickly you are responding. So these studies on motor skills require people who are very good with their reflexes, which is what gamers essentially are. Right? So I would strongly recommend that you look at opportunities in defense and aerospace, and with Department of Science and Technology. There are a lot of programs now that are looking at studying cognitive skills and motor skills. And I think that if the project investigators of these studies have even half a brain, they would, lap up all these kids who are strong gamers immediately, because these are the prime candidates who can help with such studies.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the information, sir. I hope our students are happy that even gaming can get them good careers.
Yeah, but let me just add, guys, if you've not fully committed to keeping gaming as your primary source of income in your life, my suggestion would be have a backup.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, no worries.
We have got one question from first year BBA student, Tarun MR.
Yeah.
So Tarun, can you switch on your camera and microphone?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi.
So yeah, sir. You spoke about the privacy issues of the tech industry, and like generally, recently there has been a move towards a more secure and a more private future in the tech industry generally, and the charge is being led by the big trillion-dollar companies such as Apple and Samsung. So, do you really think that there is a secure or a private future that we can look forward to, or is it just a selling strategy or a marketing strategy that their network is more secure than the others?
It's not a strategy. They're generally trying to do it. The problem is that if you look at the two biggest companies in the world, Google and Facebook, right?
Yes, sir.
What does Google sell you? Name one product. I mean, no, don't say Pixel or Google Stadia nonsense, right? What is Google predominantly selling?
Information.
No, they're selling you advertising. Their number one source of revenue is Google search, AdWords, right?
Yes, sir.
Advertising. That's the primary source of revenue. They offer you 15 GB of free email data. They offer you free email service. They offer you YouTube, right? Why are they doing that? They're not doing it out of charity. Because in order to sustain their ad-driven business or ad business, they need information. They need data about the demographic of who will be given those ads or who will be shown those ads. How do you get information about that? You get information by giving them access to a service which will yield that information. Hakinan?
Yes, sir.
जब तक मैं आपके ईमेल नहीं पढ़ सकता हूं तब तक मुझे पता कैसे चलेगा कि आप क्या चाहते हैं, क्या पसंद करते हैं, right? Till I know. Now that's why Google keeps on telling you that we parse your emails, but no human ever sees your emails. It is read by a machine. Why? Because again, there is a mathematical model sitting in the background building a model about you, right? So the idea of the notion of a secure or a very private future is a myth. We'll get to a point where you and I, the average customer or the average consumer, will become more proactive in ensuring their privacy, and they will become more sensitive to the notion of their personal data being shared for nefarious causes or for somebody else's benefit. But to imagine that we'll become perfectly opaque, it's not going to happen. Why? Because world's biggest companies which are providing you with what we consider today essential services rely on that information. Today, can you imagine a life without Gmail? Let me ask you this. No? Can you? Okay. You're a young kid. Can you imagine a life without Facebook or WhatsApp?
No, sir.
Why not?
It's
Sir.
Predominantly in such times, it's taking up most of our times.
Sir?
Yeah, somebody's...
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yeah, let me just hold on. Let me just finish with Tarun, and I'll get back to you. So,
okay,
right. So we can't, right? You said that you cannot expect a life in these times without Gmail, Facebook, etc. Think about it. In a span of 10 years, a country like India, with highly illiterate population, I'm not talking about us here, even remote users, rural users, they take it for granted that I will have access to my email and Facebook. How did we get here? Think about it. And the more you start thinking about it, the more you'll love this. This is an incredible study on how the reason why Facebook is so popular is because we love sharing. We love sharing our photographs and our holiday photographs and getting the validation. It's a psychological fact. This is why Facebook was so popular. Because it tapped into the very basic human psyche that validation is beautiful.